Hi there, Fatima. So we've got this new set of essays from you. Let's get right into it. The first one is about average working time, and the more hours we work, the more successful we are in our countries. So let's see what you said. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated that the number of hours of work is equivalent to the success of a country. I firmly disagree with this statement. The following essay will discuss this point of view using various examples from the University of Munich and from the article The Guardian Enterprises. Okay, so nice, very good. However, capitalize your U, capitalize these other two words here in your title. There are different rules about capitalizations of titles, but I definitely believe that all three of these words should have been capitalized. And then let's talk about another sentence that I thought was interesting. You said, the number of hours of work is equivalent to the success of a country. So what does that mean? That if we work 40 hours a week, the success of our country is 40? And if we work 60 hours a week, the success is 60? So what does that 60, what does that 40 mean? So I don't think you quite meant this. You didn't mean that the number of hours is equivalent. I think you mean that the number of hours is maybe positively correlated with the success of a country, or it is associated with the success of a country, or the number of hours is reflected on the success of a country. So there were a lot of different ways you could have said this, but I think the way you chose to say it does create some inaccuracy here, so I would advise you to avoid that. Let's move on to your body. There is ample evidence to show that people in successful countries work fewer, not less hours. Fewer hours in comparison to those who work more than the average working hours. Recent empirical research from the university capital here of Munich shows that the average working hours of a German citizen are between 25 to 30 hours per week. This is significantly less than the global working hours. The reduction of the average working hours allows German citizens to find a balance between their work and personal life. It is important to highlight that Germany is the most economically successful country in the European Union. Therefore, it is clear that working more hours does not affect the success of a country. Okay, Fatima, I think you supported this really rather well, so let's just move on and take a look at the next paragraph here, okay? So, on the other hand, countries that work an excessive number of hours do not always have the best quality of life, nor a successful country. Take, for example, an article written by the Guardian Enterprises, which states that Mexico is the country with the most working hours per person. Mexican citizens work between 48 to 52 hours per week. This article also states that this situation is caused by the instability of the country and people fearing to lose their jobs. Full stop here, right? Mexico is considered a developing country, and the fact that the population works an excessive amount of hours does not, make sure you write the word fully out, make it successful compared to Germany. It is possible to state without a doubt, okay, here you need a therefore. Therefore, it is possible to state without a doubt that long average working hours do not affect the success of a country. Okay, fine. You know what's missing for me? You do a good job of using pronouns in this essay. You use this a lot. This is significantly, this reduction, and then here, this article, this situation. You do a good job of that, but what I feel is missing is other types of cohesion here. It's kind of repetitive. I really felt like you just used this a lot, okay? Is it a good thing to use? Yes, absolutely. But I do feel like you need a little more variety. Now, one thing that I don't want you to do is to use a lot of these front position linkers like therefore, furthermore, additionally. In other words, don't use them in every sentence, but you still can use them every now and then, all right? So it's not like you can't use them at all. You just need to have some, not using them all the time. All right, so let's finish up with your conclusion. From the arguments and examples given, I passionately believe that the companies that work fewer hours per person have a better quality of life compared to those countries that work long hours. Okay, based on the evidence, it is likely that companies with fewer work hours per person will become more economically successful in the future. All right, fine. Here you focused on quality of life. Don't. I would rather you focused on economic success. That's what this essay is about. So somebody could very clearly argue that quality of life does not equal economic success. So make sure your focus is on the right thing, which is economic success here. Change around the expression. Don't make it economically success. Just say, you know, earn more money or are financially more successful, or there were lots of ways you could have said it. But don't confuse that with quality of life. Okay? But then you kind of saved it at the end, so that was fine. So what I want you to look at is some examples of higher level cohesion. If you look, we've done a podcast about it in the past, so I would definitely want you to take a listen to that. See how you can adopt some of these types of cohesion to make this flow even better. That was the one little thing that I found here. Other than that, I thought it was a well-written essay, okay? So let's move straight into your task 1, which is the shoe sales. Okay. The bar chart shows the brown and black leather shoe sales during 2018 in 9 different European countries from 0 to 150,000. The first 5 countries showed a significant fluctuation between the sales of black shoes. This is not the case for Ireland and Germany, grammar here is weird. So this is not the case for Ireland and Germany, whose black shoe sales are the same at around 70,000. Looking in more detail, it can be observed that black leather shoes are extremely popular in Hungary. Their sales are incredibly significant compared to the rest of the countries, with around 130,000 in total. Where is this 130,000? For all the countries other than Hungary? For Hungary itself, that expression is confusing. Whereas in France, black shoes are the least popular. Least popular. There it is right there. Popular color to buy by the shoppers with less than 50,000. 50,000, careful, you need an extra 0 here, in 2018. On the other hand, it is evident that brown shoe sales in Poland were higher than Belgium, with 140,000 decreasing to almost 0, respectively. Overall, there is significant evidence that brown shoes are more preferred to buy in 6 different European countries. Okay, so Fatima, let's talk about this a little bit. You had some of the points right here, okay, but there were definitely some points here that you selected some of the wrong information and you didn't highlight the right information. So I really disagree with this selection for your overview. There are a lot of different things that your overview could say. It generally is supposed to show the main trend here, like what's the most obvious thing you see. So, what is the most obvious thing you see when you look at this? You could say several things. You could say clearly the highest shoe sales were black leather in Hungary, and the lowest were brown leather in Belgium. Okay, that's one thing you could have said. You could have said that let's see, black leather shoes were very popular. Or no, how about this? Black and brown leather shoe sales were, no, black and brown leather shoes were very popular in 4 different countries. You could have said something like that, even though I don't really love that. But what you could have done, which would have been good, was this, really. Just highlight the highest and the lowest. So in other words, black leather shoes in Hungary and brown leather shoes in Belgium. Now, did we talk about what key features are? If you look at the band descriptors, the task achievement, if you look at some of those lower scores, it talks about key features. What are key features? Key features are all of your categories. So brown and black leather, absolutely you have to mention both. And then you also have to mention all the countries. Those are your categories. At least mention them by name. So you didn't do that. In other words, when I read this, I did not know what all the countries were. Hang on a second. Okay, so reading this, which countries did you talk about? You talked about Ireland and Germany, Hungary, France, and that's it. So there are 5 other countries that I know absolutely nothing about. And that's a problem, because if I were to try to kind of understand what you were looking at without actually looking at it myself, I could not, because I have very, very little information. Okay, so you talked about the first 5 countries. I don't understand what that means. I don't want you to just go from left to right here. What you want to do is actually do it kind of like top down. Also, you want to look at these numbers along the side. They're there to help you. So you could have organized it like that. Now, just to give you some advice, how would I have done this? I would have done my introduction. I would have then written my overview. I'm always a big fan of writing the overview right after the introduction. There are a lot of reasons for that. Happy to, explain them to you at a different point if you're interested. But typically I recommend introduction first, overview second, and then go to your details. Now, a good way to do this would be to separate the black shoes and talk about the black shoes first, or the brown shoes first. However, I do like the idea of the black shoes first, because it's the highest figure in your chart. So it makes sense to start with it. Black leather shoes right here, Hungary, at around 140,000. Okay? Again, look at the numbers along the side. So what would I do? This is all about grouping. You have 18 pieces of data here. So group when you can. For example, I would start off by saying 3 of the countries had shoe sales of over 100,000 shoes. Specifically, Hungary had the most shoe sales at 140,000. I'm talking about black leather shoes, okay? You have to mention black. So Hungary had 140,000. It was followed at 125,000 by Italy. And the remaining 2 were either just at or just above 100,000. The least black leather shoes were sold in France at approximately 35,000 shoe sales. The remaining countries, and then you can name them, UK, Germany, Ireland, Holland, and Poland, all had between 50,000 and 100,000 black shoes sold. And then you could do something very similar for your second paragraph, okay? Where here you've got 4 countries selling over 100,000. You start again, this time with Poland. You talk about Germany and Hungary selling the same number. Italy rounding out the 4. You could talk about Belgium, and then the remaining 4 countries that sold between 50 and 100, and you're done. That's it. Assuming you've talked about your interview, your introduction, and you've talked about your overview. Okay? That's what I would suggest. So give it a shot like that. It's a nice way of organizing this. It's grouping together, really focusing on the highlights, the important information, and not so much on the details, but then at the same time including everything that needs to be included. So try it, and let's see what you can do in your next set of essays. Okay? So good luck to you.